Hi guys, we are Azure and here we were talking about Azure. I'm Adriana and here we have Fernando and Jorge. And today, can you show us, Fernando, your screen? By the way, how are you guys?
Very good, Adriana. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the team.
Thank you guys. And you, Fernando, how are you going?
Oh, I'm good, Adriana, and I'm waiting for the announcement here.
Great. So today we are going to talk about how to create a pipeline with Dataflow transformation and monitoring and know, so how you can see how the pipeline is running, and integration runtime, right, Fernando? So Fernando's going to show us a little bit of this.
Yeah, so today I will show the Dataflow transformation. Finally, you remember from the previous demo, this thing here, the ETL. We'll have like the ETL. We'll load a data set, use some information in this data set to create a new column on our transformation engine and to store on the target. And this is the best tool we have on Azure Data Factory, in my opinion. Is the most useful thing. So are you ready, guys? So let's go to our demo. So here is our Azure Data Factory. We are using then another course. And okay, the first thing, just to make our video faster, I use the Dataflow debug activity to have like an underlying infrastructure to do the data transformation, right? So let's create here a pipeline. This pipeline I'll call here like Dataflow transformation. It's not creative. And the activity uses this Dataflow. When you create here a data flow, it asks, create a new data flow. Okay. It goes, so our pipeline creates the data flow. Let's call here as data flow 1. It's a good name. It calls a new interface on ADF. It's a data flow. And we have this source. Okay. Before we start, I'll show a little bit here in my pipeline the options. We have settings. So this is our underlying infrastructure. This is serverless. We can choose like the automatic is what you're using, or if you have a different one, we configure like a different integration runtime. We can select here. For this demo, we use a general purpose with for car and for driver cars, right? This data flow here is connected to this interface. So the data flow 1, what do you do here? We have our data lake with these 2 files. If you don't remember from the latest video, the contents, we have this is our sales data, right? And we have the sales amounts. I think I will add here a column called tax, and the tax will be 10% of this value. We do this on a data factor. And we'll save this to database. Oh, my session is expired here. Let's refresh our section and let's connect the Azure Data Store. We already have this table we create on the previous video. I create a new table, but I create this table directly from the data factor. So let's start here. The source. The source, we already have this source. This data set is the data lake delimited text 1. We have here source option. I choose here, I will like all files, right? So this is star here. And the source here, okay, this is good. I like only to open here my source to see if everything's right. The first row as a reader, this is the most important thing. The file path, I like to have all files, not only one, right? So the source now is fixed here. Now I'm back on the source. So how it works? Do you remember we need to have always a source and a sink? We click here on the plus, we can put here a sink, right? But the sink is the last step, and only to make it clear, if you see here in your video, you remember we have a source and a sink. It's the same thing from the data flow, right? We have a source and a sink. But one thing that is different here on the source, we need to configure a thing that's called projection. The projection is what you define the variable type will have. So in this case, invoice number, it should be an integer. Stock code, there are some letters on the code, so string is good. Description is a string because it's text. Quantity will be integer. Invoice date, it will be a date. Unit price, it should be a double, it's a floating number. Customer ID, it will be an integer. Country string, sales amount, will be a double because it's the value of the sale, right? It's a common. Optimized we don't use. Inspected is to see what you did. Data preview, oh, our data flow debug is turned off. I'll turn it on. It will require like a little bit of time to power it on. When this thing is running, we can see the data flow debug, right? So let's do the data transformation. Only to show you, we have all, I would like to have Adriana commenting here because these things are more like classical thing from SSIS and from SQL database we have. So can you read this, Adriana, for us? You are muted.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, this is the part that we are going to transform our data, right? And what we need about transforming our data. So we can create a new column, we can binding, we can aggregate, we can clean, we can
aggregate. We can have two sources here. We can use like this join, for instance, to aggregate.
Exactly. Two tables, as we've got like in SSIS. So when you have two different tables, you want to relate their outcomes or create a new column. Also, we can filter, we can integrate, we can validate and summarize. Those kind of things are examples of what we can do on transformation data.
Yeah, so I feel
we've got
this is exactly your area. You are
well.
experts in these things, right?
Yes, I am. I've been working with this data, so it's good to know.
So to do what I propose here in this video, that is to add a column here, like, let's think I'm on Excel, right? But let's think I would like to have a tax here, and here in Excel I put like 0.1 times this value here. And to do this here, like in Excel, is easy. But think, every day we get a new file with new data. So we are in 2020. We can't spend more time doing this manually, right? So I'll show you how to do this on this data flow transformation. This is easy. We click on this derived column. This derived column means we create a derived column from my previous data set, in case we create a one called tax, right? So here it will ask, like, select the column name, the column we call tax, expression. When you go here to expression, it will open this screen. And remember here, we have sales amounts. So what are my expressions? Oh, this is the interface is a little bit new. Let's find here, we'll have column name. The column name is the expression, functions. The functions, I need to find what is similar to multiplication here, should be on M. Let's use the search multiply. So my expression will be multiply. The name is sales amount. It will be sales amount. Is here, tab to complete, comma. It will be sales amount. The second expression, it will be 0.1, right? So it will multiply this, like here, this first expression, it will be the sales amount times 10% is what we want, right? I'm saving here. So this is my derived column. So let's check here, data preview. Okay, my Dataflow debug is still starting. We can see it right now. So while this is starting, let's create the destination. The destination will be here on this database. We create a new table. So sync type dataset, select the dataset. I create a new one. The dataset SQL database, right? The linked service is already created, is this one, but this table one, let's call this, okay, can be table one because we don't have, but look this, create new table. Like here we can save on our existing table, sales date we have. Let's create a new table. Let's use this DBO table name. So this is a cool thing. Adriana has showed me what is this meaning of this DBO, is database owner, right? I was not aware. You are mute, Adriana. This is a way you have like in a big database to organize who is the owner from every table, right?
Yeah. Yes, which database or which project you can organize all your database using this schema. It's like a preview to organize your tables.
Yes, like when you work in a big company like Debug, you work, we have like the departments that owns every table, like you have one by one. So here, let's call this sales data with tax, right? And just remember, we don't have it here, right? So let's create it here. Okay, the Dataflow debug is running. I show it working for you, right? So here, mapping, settings we don't need now, but in the sets we can see, we will only set data, but we can insert or update existing data. Like if our data set has, like every day we have a new spreadsheet with some update information, we can use the data factory only to update the database. Now let's go to the mapping. I will turn off the mapping to show you how it works. So now it's easy. And the tax, the derived column of tax we created is already here. And the input and the output columns were automatically created by this Dataflow, right? And I think we're pretty much ready to go because we are on debug mode. We don't need to publish to test it. And the way I use the debug mode now because it will run immediately. If you run without the Dataflow debug with a trigger in the pipeline, we need to wait the cloud to provision the underlying infrastructure and to run the code. Like it will run in a few seconds, but sometimes you need to wait between 3 to 5 minutes to deploy the servers that have under the hood is running Spark. So this is a moment to remember what's happening here. So we have here, like our data set now is a file like that. The data factory is loaded this on the transformation engine that's like the Spark, is loading the data on run on access memory, is calculating our derived column, and after that is loading our on target database. All right. So this, I'm very excited to see if it runs. So debug my database here. Okay, I'm on the pipeline. Remember, the pipeline is linked to this Dataflow. So let's debug. So it's starting to debug. We can also monitor the debug thing, right? So we
yes,
are.
Yes.
So we are.
Monitoring panel with.
I think the nice thing is that Azure Data Factory is managing all the Spark, all the execution. You don't have to care about, having a data bricks or having, it's all managed by the platform itself to run those transformations, those data flows. And that's very powerful, it's scalable, and you just pay for what you are using. And then it's very like serverless model.
Oh, now it's here, it's running, it's in progress here. We are waiting it to start to run. So this you read from our sink. You create the derived column and you feed the sink. We need to wait a few minutes. And remember this glass I showed in the first video and the part of the monitoring is where you click to see, oh, it's done. What's the time? So we pay now. If this is like a normal run, you pay only for these 3 seconds for the virtual machines running. We have these nice dashboards. We can see the performance. Now our data set's too small. There's no problem with that. But think when you have our data set like with 1 million of rows, it will be very, very useful to debug. Where is your bottleneck and these things? Okay, this is done. Let's go here and let's go to our database. Let's refresh the tables. So we have this new table here, and let's select this table. And it's here, and let's see the tax, everything calculated. So think this work we can do manually here on Excel. You can make a pipeline to replay this manual work we do on an Excel on your office and to do it automatically every day to feed our database and to have this in production. And you can use our time for like designing this pipeline, designing what you do with this information or how this information can generate value to your company and your project. So this was our demo about Azure Data Factory Dataflow transformation. Thank you for everyone and subscribe our channel and activate the notifications to see our next videos. Thanks for Adriana and George to be here on the video.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, George.
Thank you. It's great to see, all these powerful, you're doing simple examples, but think about that you can do very, large migrations and transformations there.
All good, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.